The sleek bioorganic ship of the Spiral Alliance hung in Earth's orbit like a giant leaf catching sunlight. Inside, the ship's sensors were going crazy. Council member Greenleaf stared at the readings with all four of his eyes wide open. His leaf-like ears trembled as he processed the information. "Impossible," he whispered, his green skin turning a pale shade. "These humans, they eat meat." The discovery of Earth in 2157 had seemed promising at first. The blue planet showed signs of advanced technology, unified government, and successful space travel. But now, as the Alliance's first contact team studied the inhabitants more closely, they found something that horrified them. Ambassador Rose Miller stood in the meeting chamber of the Alliance ship, trying her best to stay calm. The room was filled with plant-like beings, all keeping a noticeable distance from her. The walls were alive, made of living plant material that hummed with energy. In any other situation, she would have found it beautiful. "Please understand," Rose said, keeping her voice gentle. "Humans are omnivores. Yes, we eat both plants and meat, but we're not mindless predators. We have built great civilizations, created art, music. You tear flesh with your teeth." One of the council members interrupted. Their leaf crown shook with emotion. "How can any species that hunts be trusted with advanced technology?" Rose felt her patience wearing thin, but kept her diplomatic smile. She had trained for difficult first contact situations, but nothing had prepared her for being treated like a monster simply because humans could digest meat. Back on Earth, the United Earth government was watching the situation closely. In the monitoring station, technicians observed the Alliance's massive fleet. Their ships looked like giant spacefaring trees, beautiful but heavily armed with defensive weapons. "They're afraid of us," Commander Thompson said, watching the feeds. "Not because of our weapons or technology, but because we eat hamburgers." He would have laughed if the situation wasn't so serious. The next few days brought more tense meetings. The Alliance representatives couldn't get past their horror at human dietary habits. They watched Earth's historical records with growing concern. Scenes of barbecues, fishing trips, and hunting documentaries filled them with dread. Rose tried a different approach. "Look at our actions, not just our biology," she argued in the council chamber. "Despite being omnivores, we protect endangered species, we maintain natural habitats, we work to preserve all forms of life." But then came the footage that nearly ruined everything. A nature documentary showing a lion hunting in the African savanna. The Alliance Council watched in horror as the predator took down its prey. The fact that humans would record such an event, let alone study it, convinced many of them that Earth was too dangerous to contact. "This planet is a predator world," Greenleaf announced in the final council session. "The humans' technology level combined with their carnivorous tendencies makes them an unacceptable risk. I move to establish a quarantine zone." Rose stood up, her voice firm. "You would judge an entire species based on their natural biology. We thought the Spiral Alliance stood for diversity and understanding." Her words made some council members shift uncomfortably, but the fear ran too deep. Millennia of evolution as peaceful herbivores had left the Alliance species with an instinctive terror of predator species. As the council debated Earth's fate, none of them knew that a far greater threat was approaching, one that would make them reconsider their fears of humanity's predatory nature. The crystal mines were coming, and soon the Alliance would learn that having a protective predator on your side might be exactly what they needed. The session ended with a temporary decision. Earth would be placed under observation, its status to be decided in the coming months. As Rose prepared to return home, she couldn't help but wonder how a civilization advanced enough to master interstellar travel could be so blinded by biological prejudice. Little did any of them know, humanity's dangerous nature would soon become the Alliance's greatest hope for survival. 3 months after the tense first contact with Earth, the Spiral Alliance faced a threat they never imagined possible. It began on their farming colony of Greenhaven, a peaceful world of vast fields and forests. The first signs came from the planet's northern continent. Huge crystal formations burst from the ground, beautiful but deadly. They spread across the landscape like gleaming frost, consuming all plant life in their path. Within days, entire forests disappeared, transformed into lifeless crystal gardens. "We've lost contact with Greenhaven's capital city," reported Captain Swiftstrike, her leaf-like hands trembling as she addressed the Alliance Council. The young officer's typically bright green skin had turned pale with worry. "The crystal entities are. They're eating everything." The council chamber erupted in panic. These creatures, which they would come to call the Crystal Mines, were unlike anything they had encountered before. Made of living crystal, they didn't just destroy plant life. They transformed it into more of themselves. Greenleaf, who had been so vocal about the dangers of Earth, now faced a real monster. "Deploy the defense fleet," he ordered. "We must protect our worlds." The Alliance's massive ships moved into position around Greenhaven. They fired their most powerful weapons, beams of concentrated solar energy, designed to disable rather than destroy. The crystal entities simply absorbed the energy and grew faster. "Our weapons," Swiftstrike reported, her voice shaking. "They're just making them stronger." Over the next few weeks, more colonies fell. The crystal mines moved from world to world, unstoppable and hungry. The Alliance's peaceful nature had left them with only defensive technology. They had no weapons designed to actually destroy an enemy. Back on Earth, humans watched the unfolding disaster through their monitoring stations. Commander Thompson studied the reports with growing concern. "They're looking at this all wrong," he said to his team. "They're trying to stop a predator with shields and barriers. That's not how you deal with a hunter." The Alliance's next defeat came at Blue Forest, their largest agricultural world. The crystal mines had adapted, developing faster ways to spread and consume. They now launched crystal spores into the atmosphere, seeding entire continents with their destructive growth. In an emergency session, the Alliance Council gathered to face a harsh truth. Their civilization, built on principles of peace and harmony, had no answer to this devastating invasion. Their defensive technology, no matter how advanced, couldn't stop an enemy that turned their own energy against them. "6 worlds lost," Greenleaf announced, his voice heavy with defeat. "Millions of our people displaced. Our food production is crippled." He paused, looking at the latest reports. "The crystal mines are moving faster now, learning from each encounter." At this rate, he couldn't finish the sentence. Everyone knew what it meant. At this rate, the Alliance would fall within months. That's when an unexpected message arrived from Earth. The humans had been analyzing the situation, and they had ideas. Ideas that shocked and disturbed the Alliance Council. "They want to what?" Swiftstrike asked, reading the proposal in disbelief. "They want to hunt the crystal mines," Greenleaf replied, his voice mixed with disgust and desperate hope. "They say their experience as as hunters, gives them insight into how to fight these creatures." The council chamber fell silent. The same predatory nature they had feared in humans might now be their only hope. But could they trust Earth's carnivorous instincts? Could they put their fate in the hands of beings they had nearly quarantined? As they debated, more crystal spores fell on distant worlds, and time was running out for the Spiral Alliance. Commander Thompson stood in Earth's main military command center, watching dozens of screens showing the crystal mines' destruction across Alliance space. His team had been studying these attacks for weeks, and they saw something the Alliance had missed. "Look here," he said, pointing to a pattern of crystal growth. "They're not just spreading randomly. They're hunting. Like a wolf pack, they're testing defenses, looking for weak points." He zoomed in on one of the infected worlds. They even leave false trails to draw defenders away from their main targets. The room was filled with Earth's top military analysts, all watching footage that made the peaceful Alliance species cringe in horror. But these humans saw something different. They saw patterns they recognized from Earth's own predators. "The Alliance keeps trying to block them," said Lieutenant Reed, a wildlife expert turned military strategist. But you don't stop a predator by just putting up walls. You have to think like a hunter to catch a hunter. Thompson had called this emergency meeting because he'd seen enough. The crystal mines weren't just eating plants. They were strategic, intelligent predators. And humanity knew all about dealing with those. Their ships are beautiful, he said, showing images of the Alliance's fleet, all focused on defense and protection. But look at these weapon systems: solar beams, energy shields, barrier fields. Nothing designed to actually destroy a threat. The room nodded in understanding. Humanity's history as omnivores had taught them that sometimes survival required more than just defense. Sometimes you had to strike back. In another part of the command center, researchers studied Earth's prehistoric hunters for inspiration. The crystal mines are like ancient pack hunters, one analyst explained. They coordinate their attacks, cut off escape routes, and wear down their prey. Just like our ancestors had to learn to outsmart such predators, we can use those same lessons here. Thompson spent hours preparing his presentation for the United Earth government. He knew what he was about to propose would shock the Alliance, but he also knew it might be their only chance. We need to stop thinking of this as a defense problem, he told the Earth Council. The crystal mines aren't just consuming resources, they're hunting. And we, humanity, are the galaxy's experts on dealing with hunters. The Council listened as Thompson laid out his plan. Earth would offer not just military aid, but would teach the Alliance something they had never learned: how to fight back effectively against a predator. Our ancestors didn't survive by just hiding from predators, Thompson explained. They learned to be better hunters themselves. That's the knowledge we need to share with the Alliance. Ambassador Rose Miller, who had faced the Alliance's prejudice against humanity's carnivorous nature, now saw an opportunity. What they once feared in us might be exactly what saves them, she said. Our understanding of predator behavior, our ability to think strategically about hunting and defense, these are gifts our evolution has given us. The Earth Council approved Thompson's plan unanimously. Now came the hard part: convincing the Alliance to accept help from the very beings they had almost quarantined for being too predatory. Send the message, Thompson ordered. Tell them Earth is ready to help, but we'll need them to trust our methods. Methods that come from our nature as hunters. As the message was transmitted toward Alliance space, Thompson watched more crystal spores falling on distant worlds. He knew that humanity's greatest challenge wouldn't be fighting the crystal mines. It would be helping the peaceful Alliance understand that sometimes you need a predator on your side. Time to show them, he said quietly, that being a hunter doesn't make you a monster. Sometimes it makes you exactly the protector they need. The Alliance Council chamber had never been so quiet. On the main screen, Commander Thompson's presentation showed Earth's military fleet, armed with weapons designed to destroy rather than disable. The plant-like council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. These are hunter-killer vessels, Thompson explained, keeping his voice calm and steady. Built by predators who understand how to think like predators. And that's exactly what you need right now. Greenleaf, who had once advocated for Earth's quarantine, spoke first. You propose to use weapons of destruction to actively hunt down and eliminate the crystal mines. His leaves trembled at the very idea. Yes, Thompson replied simply, because that's what works against hunters. The crystal mines aren't just eating your worlds, they're hunting them. And you don't stop a hunter with shields alone. Ambassador Rose stood beside Thompson, watching the Council's reaction. She saw their horror at the human ship's weapons, their disgust at the targeting systems designed for attack rather than defense. But she also saw their fear of the crystal mines and their desperate need for help. 3 more worlds have fallen while we debate, Captain Swiftstrike announced, her young voice carrying across the chamber. The crystal mines are adapting faster than our defenses. We need to try something different. The Council erupted in argument. Some members couldn't accept the idea of working with predator technology. Others saw no choice. As they debated, Thompson activated another display. showing something that made them all stop talking. "This is a wolf pack hunting," he said, showing Earth wildlife footage. Notice their strategy. Then he switched to footage of the crystal mines attacks. Look familiar? They're using the same patterns, the same hunting techniques. You're not fighting mindless crystals. You're fighting space wolves. And we humans know all about wolves. The council watched in stunned silence as Thompson overlaid the hunting patterns. The similarity was undeniable. For the first time, they began to understand that humanity's violent nature might give them insights the Alliance desperately needed. "Your ships are amazing at protection," Thompson continued. "They're perfect defensive platforms. Combined with our attack vessels, we could create a strategy the crystal mines have never seen before." Rose stepped forward. "You fear our predator nature," she said gently. "But predators can also be protectors. On Earth, many of our fiercest hunters are also the most protective parents. They use their hunting skills to defend, not just to attack." The council chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Then Greenleaf stood up, his 4 eyes fixed on the human representatives. "When you first came to us," he said, "I feared your predator nature would bring violence to our peaceful alliance. Now that same nature might be our salvation." He paused, his leaves rustling with emotion. "We accept your help, humans. Teach us to fight back." The next few days were a flurry of activity. Human ships moved into Alliance space, their crews working to coordinate with the plant-like aliens who had once feared them. Thompson's team began training Alliance officers in predator combat tactics, while Alliance engineers helped modify human weapons to work better with their defensive systems. "It's strange," Swift Strike said to Thompson as they watched the combined fleet assemble. "We spent so long fearing predators, we forgot that sometimes you need teeth and claws to protect what matters." Thompson smiled. "That's the thing about being a predator," he replied. "It's not about violence. It's about having the tools you need to survive. And now, we'll help you survive too." As the fleet prepared for its first joint mission, both humans and Alliance members felt a new sense of hope. Together, they might just have a chance against the crystal mines. The hunters were about to become the hunted. The combined human Alliance fleet hung silently in the darkness of space near the Blue Forest colony. Commander Thompson stood on his bridge, watching the tactical display where red dots showed crystal mine activities spreading across the planet below. "Remember what we learned from the Lions of Earth," he said to both his human crew and the Alliance ships listening. "Lions don't just chase their prey. They set up ambushes. They cut off escape routes. That's what we're going to do today." Captain Swift Strike's Alliance vessel floated nearby, its living hull pulsing with nervous energy. She had spent weeks learning human hunting tactics, and despite her initial horror, she now understood their value. "Alliance ships, move into defensive formation," she ordered. "Just like we practiced. Make ourselves look vulnerable, like wounded prey." The Alliance vessels spread out, appearing to struggle and defend weakly against the crystal spores rising from the planet. It was a trick, learned from watching zebras on Earth pretend to be injured to draw predators into a trap. "They're taking the bait," Thompson said, watching as crystal ships rose from the surface, drawn to what seemed like easy targets, just like hungry wolves going after a limping deer. "Wait for it. Wait." The crystal mines moved closer, their crystalline forms gleaming in the starlight. They had never faced organized resistance before, only desperate defense. They didn't understand what was about to happen. "Now," Thompson ordered. Human ships dropped out of stealth mode, appearing behind and above the crystal mines. The Alliance ships suddenly strengthened their shields, creating a wall of energy. The crystal ships were trapped between them, just like prey caught between hunting lions and a cliff face. "Fire," Thompson commanded. Human weapons struck with precise force, their attacks guided by predator instinct. The Alliance's defensive shields prevented the crystal mines from escaping. For the first time, the crystal hunters became the hunted. "Look at their reaction," Swift Strike said with wonder. They're panicking. They don't know how to handle being prey. The crystal ships tried to scatter, but Thompson had studied Earth's pack hunters too well. Human vessels moved like wolves, cutting off escape routes, forcing the crystal mines into killing zones where Alliance shields and human weapons work together. "They're breaking apart," someone shouted. The crystal ships were shattering under the combined assault, their remains floating harmlessly in space. But Thompson knew better than to celebrate too early. Like any good predator, he waited to make sure the threat was really gone. "Scan the debris," he ordered. "Make sure none of them are playing dead." The Alliance ships were amazed. They had never seen combat like this. Controlled, strategic, almost elegant in its deadly efficiency. It wasn't the mindless violence they had feared from predator species. It was skilled, purposeful, and most importantly, protective. "Now we move to Phase 2, Thompson announced. "Ground teams deploy. Remember how Earth's hunting birds work together. Some flush out the prey, others strike from above. We'll use the same technique to clear the surface." As teams of humans and Alliance members began the work of reclaiming Blue Forest, Swift Strike approached Thompson on his bridge. "I understand now," she said quietly. "Being a predator isn't about violence. It's about knowing how to protect what matters, about having the skills to fight when fighting is needed." Thompson nodded. "That's what we've been trying to tell you. Humans aren't dangerous because we can hunt. We're valuable allies because we know when and how to hunt, and we choose to hunt only what threatens those we protect." The victory at Blue Forest was just the beginning. The crystal mines would learn to fear this new combination of human hunting skill and Alliance defensive power. The predators had become protectors, and the galaxy would never be the same. 1 month after the victory at Blue Forest, the Alliance's main council chamber looked very different. Where once the plant-like aliens had kept their distance from humans, now they sat together, sharing meals, though the humans politely ate their protein portions separately to avoid making their allies uncomfortable. Greenleaf stood before the combined group, his leaves gently swaying as he spoke. "Today, we received reports from the outer colonies. 3 more crystal mine attacks were stopped using human hunting tactics. But more importantly, we learned something about ourselves." The room was filled with both species now. Alliance members watched with fascination as Commander Thompson demonstrated Earth hunting techniques using holographic displays. Some still flinched at the more aggressive moves, but their fear was being replaced by understanding. "Watch how a pack of wolves protects their young," Thompson explained, showing wildlife footage. "See how the strongest hunters form a circle around the weak. That's not just hunting. That's protection. That's what humans have been doing all along." Captain Swift Strike, who had fought alongside humans at Blue Forest, stepped forward. "I used to think that being a predator meant only knowing how to destroy," she admitted. "But I've learned that predator instincts can be used to protect, to defend, to save lives." In the ship hangars, human engineers worked alongside Alliance technicians, combining their technologies in ways neither species had imagined before. Human targeting systems merged with Alliance defensive shields created new ways to fight the crystal mines. "It's like your Earth dolphins," an Alliance engineer said to Thompson as they watched the work. "Predators that use their hunting skills to save other species. We're learning that being able to hunt doesn't make you evil. It's how you choose to use those abilities that matters." Ambassador Rose walked through the station's agricultural section, where Alliance farmers were learning about Earth's balanced ecosystems. "In nature," she explained, "predators don't just kill. They maintain balance. They protect entire ecosystems by controlling populations that would otherwise destroy everything." The Alliance members listened intently. They were beginning to see their own prejudices clearly for the first time. Their fear of predator species had blinded them to an important truth. Nature needed both protectors and defenders, both peaceful planters and fierce guardians. "Look at this tactical display," Thompson said in a joint briefing. "The crystal mines are changing their attack patterns. They're learning to fear us. Not just our weapons, but our combination of human hunting knowledge and Alliance defensive power. The display showed crystal mind forces retreating from several systems, avoiding areas where human and Alliance ships patrolled together. The hunters had become the hunted, and they didn't like it. In the station's recreation area, human and Alliance children played together, their earlier fears forgotten. Young Alliance members watched in fascination as human kids play predator and prey games, seeing how these playful competitions taught important survival skills. "We were wrong about humans," Greenleaf admitted to Rose in a private meeting. "We saw their predator nature and assumed it meant they were dangerous to us. We didn't understand that the same instincts that make them effective hunters also make them fierce protectors." The changes weren't just military. Alliance culture began to shift, accepting that strength came in many forms. They started to understand that their own peaceful nature and humans' more aggressive instincts could complement each other perfectly. As the day ended, Thompson and Swift Strike stood watching their combined fleet prepare for another mission. Together, Swift Strike said, "We're neither just predators nor just defenders. We're both, and that makes us stronger than either of us could be alone." Thompson smiled. "That's the real victory here," he replied. "Not just beating the crystal mines, but learning to see strength in our differences." The final battle against the crystal mines took place above their home system, a cluster of worlds they had turned completely to crystal. The combined human Alliance fleet was massive. Defensive ships with their living hulls glowing bright, and human vessels with their weapons primed. Commander Thompson stood on his bridge, looking at the tactical display. "This is it," he said to the fleet. "Everything we've learned together has led to this moment. Alliance ships formed defensive positions, human vessels hunting formations. The fleet moved with practiced grace. Gone were the days when Alliance members flinched at human battle tactics. Now they understood. The same instincts that made humans good hunters also made them excellent protectors." "Crystal mine ships approaching," Captain Swift Strike reported from her vessel. "They gathered everything they have left. They know we've backed them into a corner." "Like any predator," Thompson replied, "they're most dangerous when cornered. Everyone remember your training. Humans, think like the hunters we are. Alliance crews, be the shields that protect us all." The crystal mines attacked with desperate fury. Their ships threw themselves at the fleet, trying to break through the Alliance's defensive screens. But this time, nobody panicked. This time, both species knew exactly what to do. "Hunting Group Alpha, drive them toward the gas giant," Thompson ordered. Human ships moved like a pack of wolves, herding their prey exactly where they wanted them. Alliance vessels maintained perfect defensive positions, their shields forming an impenetrable barrier. Greenleaf watched from the command station as the battle unfolded. "Amazing," he said softly. "Such perfect balance between attack and defense, between predator and protector." The crystal mines found themselves trapped between the gas giant's gravity and the combined fleet. Their usual tactics of consuming energy weren't working. The Alliance ships now knew how to modulate their shields, while human vessels struck from unexpected angles. "Now," Thompson commanded, "spring the trap." Hidden human ships emerged from the gas giant's storms, while Alliance vessels suddenly shifted their shield configurations. The crystal mines were caught in a closing net of human firepower and Alliance energy fields. "Just like the lions and zebras working together," Swift Strike said, remembering the Earth video she'd studied. "The predator's skill and the herd's strength combined." The battle was fierce but decisive. The crystal mines, unable to adapt to this perfect blend of hunting skill and defensive power, began to break apart. Their ships shattered one by one, until finally their main fleet was destroyed. As the dust settled, Thompson received a message from Earth. The United Earth government had been offered full membership in the Spiral Alliance, the first carnivorous species to ever receive such an honor. In the Alliance Council chamber during the ceremony that followed, Greenleaf stood to speak. "When we first met humans, we saw only their predator nature, and it frightened us. We nearly made a terrible mistake. He turned to face the human representatives. You showed us that being a predator species doesn't mean being mindlessly violent. It means having the skills and instincts to protect what matters. Ambassador Rose stepped forward to accept Earth's membership, and you showed us that true strength comes in many forms. The Alliance's peaceful nature isn't weakness. It's a different kind of strength. Together, we're better than either of us alone. The ceremony ended with a new tradition. Alliance members and humans sharing a meal together, each respecting the other's dietary needs while celebrating their differences. As Thompson watched the celebrations, Swiftstrike approached him. "What do you think the galaxy will make of us?" she asked. "This strange partnership between predators and peaceful beings." Thompson smiled. "I think we'll show them what we learned from Earth's own history, that the fiercest protectors often come from predator species, and the strongest bonds can form between those who are different." The celebration continued long into the night, as human and Alliance members looked to the stars together, ready to face whatever new challenges awaited them, not as predator and prey, but as equals, protectors and friends.